Today on CityCast Denver, the first week of 2023 is almost over. How are those New Year's resolutions going so far? We're gearing up for more politics, with the state legislative session starting on Monday. The Dems have a supermajority, so what are they going to do with it? Plus, the stock show is back, and I've got a few surprises up my sleeve. Today is Friday, January 6th, 2023. I'm Paul Karolyi, and this is CityCast Denver. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city that's still waiting for Southwest to find its luggage. Bree?
You know what, Paul?
What?
I was thinking when I was prepping for this show last night, I was thinking, I wonder if Paul's joke is going to be, his opening joke is going to be about the Southwest luggage problem. Yeah. I got lucky and I didn't have to go anywhere. So, and my relatives that came into town did not fly on Southwest.
So you weren't affected really at all?
No, we had a friend of ours here from LA who was worrying that he wouldn't get back in time, but everything was smooth. I can't say that for tens of thousands of people. I mean, I felt for people immensely.
Just a nightmare.
What a nightmare.
Ugh. It was honestly between the Southwest situation and then just the icy roads.
Oh.
But I was driving in on Lincoln and I saw a billboard for Southwest and it's that red-headed guy, that bearded redhead smiling at me, and it was like 2 free checked bags, and I was like, I don't know.
Checked bags to wear.
Yeah, there might be some hidden costs there, buddy.
You may or may not get those checked bags back.
Yeah.
Unless a good Samaritan goes to the airport and calls your phone number off your tag like that woman did.
Yeah, honestly, shout out to that person.
Thank you.
What a hero. A hero of the city.
Southwest should hire her as like CEO of baggage handling.
Put her on the billboard.
Yeah, she rules.
Anyway, we have a great guest today to help preview the state legislative session that starts on Monday. Our chief politics and green chili correspondent, Justine Sandoval, is back. Justine, welcome back.
Hey, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Justine, how about you? Southwest, did they do you dirty this holiday season?
No, I'm actually not a fan of Southwest. I'm a bag checker, so that is always at a pill. But I do not like the fact that you select your own seat when you get on, because it's chaos. And I'm already like anxious to fly. So I need order. I need to know like where my seat is. I don't have to like do the negotiating. So I try not to ever fly Southwest for that reason. But they got expensive. I think they got a little pricey.
I know you fly a lot.
Yeah.
So you're not flying Southwest.
No. And it's funny, well, I don't even want to admit this, but I'm often a Spirit Airlines flyer.
Okay.
Wow. The airlines that like you sit in a lawn chair and you're lucky if you get there?
Frontier is the lawn chair. When Spirit has some cushion on their seats. And it's only actually out of necessity. I go to Miami a lot because my partner lives there. And it's just like it's really affordable.
Sure.
But also the times always work with my schedule, and no other airline does.
Yeah, if it's hitting your destination all the time.
Yeah,
and I've never had some concessions.
Never had a problem with Spirit so far. Knock on wood. Our pilot didn't show up once, but but they waited. They found a new guy. We were only delayed like an hour.
How about the icy roads? I feel like before we get into the politics situation, that's kind of like been the controversial topic right now.
Justine, is this not just par for the Denver course? Like, do you not feel like this is just how it is every year? Not saying that we should resign ourselves to it, but like, I feel like the outrage is a little weird because I feel like this is what the roads always look like.
Yeah, this is nothing new.
Okay.
I was actually, speaking of partner in Florida, I was trying to explain to him about like the snow plows. He had so many questions, like, how do you do this? So I was like, there's CDOT, but then the city and county of Denver also clears our own streets. But yeah, it's always every year there's this conversation. If we don't have a snowy year, it's not an issue. When we have this situation where it snows and then freezes over on us, we deal with this. And I think that there's always talk too about whether the city budgets enough money for snow plows every year and what that looks like. And
it's interesting because right now a couple of candidates for mayor are like trying to take this on, right?
Yeah.
And being like, what is our city doing? And everybody's like, do you know how it works? Like it is an organized system. Whether or not it works as well as folks would like it to is another question. But I don't know. I live right off of 2 like main arterials, so my street gets plowed.
Yeah. I live on a
I'm
cul-de-sac, like the only cul-de-sac in Denver.
Yeah, I was like, you live in the city and you live on a cul-de-sac?
Yes, one of the like 2 that exist in Denver proper, but they don't really plow us out. But I'm right there by the main street, so you just got to get out of your block.
Yeah.
And really the trick is good tires. It doesn't matter what car you have, just as long as you have tires that don't grip the snow.
Yeah, and like go a little bit slow and be aware.
I say that as someone with new tires this year who had bald tires last year. So I'm like, everyone, you just need tires.
You just need to be like me.
I have a superiority complex now. Well, I have new tires. So.
All right, well, let's jump into our big topic for the day. I mentioned this. It's politics season again in Colorado and nationally. That's maybe even the bigger story is we got this Speaker of the House vote situation. I guess the Republicans still can't pick one, but that means that our two new Colorado representatives, Brittany Pedersen and Yadira Caraveo, haven't been able to be sworn in. I don't know what that's like. That's got to be weird. But here in Denver, it's the state legislators arriving probably around now. I don't really understand how it works. That's one of the things I want to hear from you, Justine, is they're arriving around now because they start on Monday doing the business of lawmaking. Maybe, yeah, let's start there. Justine, what are they thinking about? What's happening right now?
Yes. Well, so Monday, there are 2 opening days in Colorado, not just the Rockies.
Okay.
There's a very important opening day for all the policy wonks and political nerds
Equally
out
good
there.
for the bars downtown.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of drinking on opening day for the Colorado legislative session as well. But yeah, basically, newly elected lawmakers have been preparing for Monday for the past several months since their election. They do a lot of prep work, getting staff together, getting their bills drafted and ready to go. And Monday morning, they will gavel in to a Democratic supermajority, which I think this is, there's been several sessions now where the Dems have been the majority, but it is quite significant this time, the Democratic majority. So that'll be something to watch.
Right. They control the Senate. I think they have a veto-proof majority in the Senate, and they control the House, and obviously Jared Polis, Democratic governor. So they control everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's so they could do anything they want.
Yeah,
right?
we officially like blue then. Are we no longer purple?
We think that, okay, Dems have the supermajority now. We can get anything done that we want. But that's the real problem. I think, once you can have the supermajority, but there's still infighting amongst, people in the party on how we get things done or what the approaches are. I think Democrats have a consensus on, fixing education funding, affordable housing, all of these like social issues, but how we go about that is like the big question. I always say it's like the mob, like the in-family fighting is the worst. That's like the most dangerous territory. It's easy when like the other side and what you're opposing, but when you have to navigate through your own party, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult. And we've already seen that because we've seen this go down since we've had the majority with a lot of infighting, I think.
That's interesting.
Bree, what are you thinking about this year? I mean, last session, I remember we covered like the fentanyl bill was a huge one. Housing seemed like it was a big issue in the state government for the first time.
I mean, it feels like deja vu to me. Those would be my 2 issues. I don't think the fentanyl crisis was handled appropriately. I don't think further criminalizing folks was the answer. I'm surprised and not surprised that that's the way things went. But if I was a legislator, those would be things I would be working on was how can we, obviously, I would be working hand in hand with the Harm Reduction Action Center to figure out what do we need to do. I drove by today. I saw Ruth and Lisa from Harm Reduction standing on the corner talking to their folks. These are the people on the ground every day talking to folks who are using drugs. And that's who I would be working with to figure out what we need to do. Also, affordability is it's not going to get fixed overnight. So I think it's going to be a continual thing that I hope legislators continue to add to in terms of like how we can better make our state affordable across the board, because we know this is a rural problem as much as it is an urban problem. Yeah. It's a mountain towns problem as much as it's an Eastern Plains problem. So I don't know. I feel like I would still be working on both those things.
Yeah. It seems like the affordability thing is huge for Polis too. Like every time he talks about it, I feel like I hear him talking about this issue in particular, and in that way too. Like, how do we make things cheaper for Coloradans right now? Justine, what are you hearing? What are you hearing from people? What do you think the priorities are? What are we going to be talking about?
So I think one of the big things, definitely affordable housing is at the top of the list. But education also is going to be huge this legislative session.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a big attempt to rewrite old school finance policy. That's
interesting.
Yeah, there's been, outdated school finance policy in Colorado for a long time, and a lot of issues with how that funding is allocated throughout the state, where often, wealthier districts will get a lot more resources in schools that really need it. And so there's been a lot of dispute in the years of how that money is distributed. So I think that there will be a big attempt. And that's, both parties are interested in fixing it and agree that that needs to be fixed. But we will see there's opinions on how that money goes. So you'll see, I think a lot more Republicans wanting to see that money follow students into the district, which will be kind of a battle with education. Education's been a huge thing too when it comes to like school choice, funding, all of these school board takeover, conservative school boards,
charters, schools,
post-pandemic online learning, what teachers have gone through, what students have gone through, the long-term repercussions of those.
That'll be another issue too. The issues with COVID and students having the learning gap. Their state's gonna have to find ways to make up for that. Going forward. So those will be big issues, I think, that they'll have to tackle. But even with the Democrats, there's disagreement on, how those things should be done. So it'll be interesting to see how education plays out in the legislation or the legislative session this year.
Let's talk about the Republicans for a second, because, they're in the minority, a small minority. They got smoked in November. I think they're still figuring out who their leaders are going to be, or I don't know. I haven't seen they've picked anyone. There's definitely disagreement there. Justine, if you take me inside, what are they thinking about? Like, how do you handle a situation like this if you're them?
So, yes, lots to say here. I know I mentioned the Democrats having infighting, but it's at least functional. I think let's really talk about some chaos and dysfunction within the party. It's not just Colorado. It's obviously national. We've seen what's going on in the House this week.
This tension between the Trump people, or who maybe don't even like Trump so much anymore, but are like Trump-style Republicans, and then the more moderate Kevin McCarthy types, I guess. Those are the two sides?
Totally. And you see that playing out the same way here. A lot of more radical Republicans, Trump Republicans, versus some of just the more regular conservative Republicans. I don't even know what the lines are anymore. But you see that playing out here as well. Republicans are going to be electing new leadership. I know they're up in arms by the terrible loss they just experienced. And so there's going to be a lot of scrambling for them to kind of find out who is going to lead the Republican Party in Colorado.
I guess set the tone then, and then pick the strategy, and that's that person's job.
Exactly. Okay. But, I think it'll be interesting because Republicans had a loss here in Colorado, but on their social issues also took a huge hit too. Abortion, in Colorado, their anti-abortion stance hasn't played out for them, as they had hoped. But we will see this year if they're still going to continue to go that route. I have not seen any yet, but I'm sure they're coming. Spoiler alert, there'll be anti-choice bills that the Republicans will introduce every year, despite what, Coloradans are saying to them.
But I mean,
year after year.
You're making a good point, though. Maybe are we at the tipping point for them where they finally let this go and start focusing on something else because it's just not working?
We will see. And I think that will be another thing that they will be divided on as a party. Okay. Because I think, some Republicans are saying that maybe this isn't the issue that we need to hold on to and focus on. But there are other, Republicans in the state who that is their issue, and that they will continue to hold on to that as a value. And you've even seen that with like leadership, Christy Burton Brown, who's the chair of the Colorado Republicans. I've had interactions with her for years because she was part of the groups leading anti-choice bills, anti-abortion bills. So that is her thing. So
well,
they're not
maybe
going to
she'll go back to that now that she's no longer leading.
Well, she wasn't good at that, and she wasn't good at this other job either. So.
It didn't go well.
She's not exactly a winner.
Shall we talk about Governor Polis a little bit?
Sure.
Because he had a huge victory in November and maybe has some national aspirations. Where is he at? What does he want out of this session, Justine? Have you heard anything from him?
I've not heard anything as of now from anyone. I think it's just been kind of quiet. I know, it was a great victory for him. He really,
I mean, it was a landslide.
It was a landslide. Yeah. So I know that we heard you discuss on the show too. Like, you know, he ran on a campaign that was Colorado is great, as opposed to the other side running on Colorado is terrible. Yeah. So I think that, you know, continuing with the Colorado is a great thing, but really, you know, we talked about the affordable housing piece. It's really important for him to continue to make sure that this message of Colorado is great also translates into it's also affordable for people who live here. And it's not like uber wealthy people enjoy Colorado and the rest of us are suffering looking for housing. Yeah. So I think that they're going to have to make a lot of that you know, they're going to have to make that even truer, that Colorado is a great place.
Yeah. Bree, how are you feeling about Polis these days?
I mean, I don't know. He's fine.
He's fine. He's not doing anything offensive, I guess.
Well, I mean, until we fix the major problems here, again, affordability. Like, I don't feel like he's really invested in that in the way that we need a leader to be. And sometimes I think that just comes from the fact that when we're securely housed for our whole lives, sometimes folks just don't think about it that same way. And I just, I don't know. I thought it was a little disingenuous, the sort of ownership of the Tabor refund kind of thing. And it just felt very like, I know what's going on here. A lot of people don't, because you say Tabor and people fall asleep. But like, it just felt disingenuous. And also, like, we're not in some great state of affordability all of a sudden just because we got one check. Like, have you been to the grocery store lately? It's expensive.
Yeah, bring back the caged eggs.
Bring back any eggs.
I got a dozen eggs.
Have you been to the store? There are none.
$6.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Like, it just, so that's the kind of thing that I would be looking for, is something a little bit more genuine from him on what he's actually doing versus just putting his name on a check and saying, remember when I gave you that money that is actually yours already. So
yeah. Well, one thing I saw from him, I'm just kidding about the eggs, by the way. I'm fine paying $6 for caged eggs. That's fine.
I just would like some eggs. There are none at the store, Paul.
That's true. The avian flu, I guess, has wiped out our eggs.
Oh, that makes
sense.
Tricky situation with eggs right now.
Yeah.
But one thing I saw that was really interesting from Polis this week was that he's interested in expanding Colorado's rebates and tax incentives for like electric vehicles and electric bicycles and lawnmowers and stuff.
It's like Connor, our dear friend from Westwood, pointed out yesterday, like, when are we going to have ride your electric lawnmower to work day? But I mean, it's interesting. I think it's something that the city tried. Denver tried. I mean, let's give the climate office its due.
For sure.
Grace Rink, they really spearheaded that, and it worked. People liked it. And I think the governor took notice and was like, oh, this could be a thing that we could continue to promote. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, is Colorado going to be at the forefront of changing over to electric vehicles? Whether or not I think electric vehicles are the answer to everything, that's another question. But it's a step in a direction.
Yeah, and it seems to be working.
Yeah,
and it seems to be working, which is cool. Well, let's leave it there, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a very exciting event that's happening in Denver starting this weekend.
This episode is brought to you by the How to Buy a Home podcast. Oh, you know, I was just looking at multi-million-dollar listings in other neighborhoods late last night. Belcaro had some really beautiful houses. You could put my whole house in their living room kind of size. I'm really debating on the pool. Do you really want a pool in Colorado? That's why I keep recommending the How to Buy a Home podcast. Host David Sidoni has been the undisputed first-time homebuyer authority since 2005. And he has helped so many listeners close on houses they thought were impossible, even as things went nuts in the last couple of years. David can guide you through next steps that are right for you, whether you're planning to buy a home now or 5 years from now. The maintenance on a pool reminds me of, like, people that have an aquarium. That's a lot of work for a minimal amount of return. 2023 is a new year. Start it off right at howtobuyahome.com and make this the last year you rent. Find How to Buy a Home on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, and we're back. Let's get into our second big story of the week. Yesterday, for the first time in 3 years, a bunch of Bulls and Cowboys marched down 17th Street downtown to kick off the best 16 days in January. It's the National Western Stock Show. That's exciting, right? I mean, this is always a fun time of year. Everyone puts on their cowboy hats. Justine, are you excited?
I am. I mean, the stock show is a yearly tradition that I always remember as a kid and going. And I like the llamas, so I'm always excited to go see all the llamas at the stock show.
Cute.
Yeah, the animals are the draw for me too. Just like how many different varieties of chickens, and like also, especially, I have to say, what I love looking at is like the posters of like bulls that are available for siring. I don't know any of the right words to describe this.
I was
this
like,
is
I don't
so
have
not my
anything
world.
appropriate to say, but
it's like dating profiles for these
they're
bulls.
like the baby
this
daddy,
one is
the
like
prime baby daddies.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really fun. Bree, what's your relationship with the stock show? How are you feeling about it?
I mean, I'm excited to go this year because I haven't probably been since the 80s, but the memory is so distinct. It's one of those things that is so Colorado and Denver to me because I remember being freezing. You know, it's like the Parade of Lights, like loved it as a kid, freezing. Stock show, I mean, we're here in January. It's kind of one of those indoor-outdoor venues, you know what I mean? We're dealing with animals, so it's cold. So that's what I would say is bundle up if you're going. But it's been so long since I've been, Paul. I'm just really excited to sort of reintroduce myself to it. And
so you are planning on going?
Yeah, I think so because my son will have never been before. So
it is great for kids.
Could be his first stock show. I think it'll be great. What do you know about it, Paul, being a person who didn't grow up with it?
Not much. I mean, I always feel like a tourist when I'm there. When I moved here, I didn't really like do what some people do, like take on the Western wear affectation. That always felt disingenuous to me. I do like belt buckles. That's my one concession to it. But yeah, I definitely feel like a tourist. It's not my community, but I do enjoy it. I mean, it's fun. It's fun watching the events, the rodeo. It's a great, different kind of thing to enjoy every January. I love that it happens here.
Yeah.
It's a cool event.
It is interesting to me that it happens in Denver, considering we don't do a lot of that kind of like 4-H livestock stuff in the city as much anymore.
Well, it's a huge moneymaker for the city too,
That's
right?
true.
Like the city has went above and beyond to make sure that the stock show stays here. So
That's
I know
true.
that's like a huge thing for the city. So they invest a lot.
I mean,
we have a whole complex.
They tried to build a whole new arena, and we said we don't want to pay for that.
Right, and we have those new the CSU campus
The
is
Spur
being
campus.
finished. I guess I think the third of 3 buildings is opening around this year's stock show. So that's like a whole new science and research facility for agriculture. That's an interesting new thing. It's available for tours, so I might go check that out while I'm there this year. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to see.
Do it.
There's one other thing I want to talk about the stock show before we get into a little surprise that I've been planning for. Justine, the politics. The stock show always strikes me as a very political event. How do you like? Do we expect to see mayoral candidates there? Like, if you were working with a candidate, would you say like you have to be at the stock show? We have to take some pics for the gram.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I think politically, I don't know the actual politics of what's going on with the stock show, but as far as politics and imagery goes in Denver, yeah, you better be at the stock show if you're running for office. And any of these municipal elections, it's important, I think.
So that's another potential draw for visitors. You might, see somebody.
And I think there's some other things that we can highlight about the stock show. Like every year I'd go with my family because we go to the Mexican rodeo, which I always think is funny because like Mexicans like invented the rodeo, like Buccaneers. So it should just be called a rodeo.
Right.
But we go to the Mexican rodeo and it's just, it's interesting because, my grandparents were born in Denver, but my grandfather is rural Colorado. But a lot of them before they came here, live ranch life and agriculture life. And sometimes, the image of like, cowboys is like this white American image, but really we don't talk about our cow folk of color who are, part of the agricultural industry. So there's the Mexican rodeo. There's also the African American Heritage Rodeo that's on MLK Day.
Huh.
So, and those are often, I think, cowboys are not always seen as like black and brown cowboys who are actually integral to the West. And so it's always interesting for me to see that dynamic. But I think it's really important that people, those things are highlighted, those two events, and that we talk about those.
Yeah, that it often looks very homogenous from the outside, this world, this like cowboy ranching culture, but it's
Well, and,
really
like,
not true.
And also there's just that cosplay element too, which is fine. I think it's fun. It's like to lean into it, but the political side of it bothers me a little bit. Like I do have a very distinct memory of having to rub elbows with Albus Brooks and Brad Buchanan in cowboy hats a couple of years ago, and I was like, what are these fools doing?
Well, what's the other political event they do? The wrestlers event, this one, but all of the politicians of Colorado go dressed as cowboys to this event every year. So I think, I used to always joke, if you run for office in the West or in Colorado, you need for me, I'd need a jean dress, some turquoise jewelry, and cowgirl boots.
And the secret is a good fitting cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Like if your hat is too big, you look ridiculous. It needs to be the right size for your frame. So, which I bet the stock show's probably got a ton of awesome hat vendors.
Oh yeah,
this is probably the spot to do it. So,
well, all right, listeners, you've heard where we're coming from on this. It's time for some stock show trivia.
oh Lord.
I've got a few questions. I think some of these are hard. Some of these are pretty easy. Some of these we're going to do Price is Right rules and just closest without going over. But I think head to head. Bree, Justine, you ready for this?
Let's do this.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. This is a Price is Right rules one, closest without going over. So you can each take a guess. How many vendors would you guess are signed up to be at the stock show this year? Bree, I'm going to go to you first.
260.
That's it. Interesting guess.
520.
Okay, it is 300. That is their capacity. They've been sold out for 20 years. They're always sold out. So, Bree, you get the point. Congratulations.
That is an interesting. What does that mean, Paul?
It was a
I
great
was
guess.
way off base. I thought you were going to be 6,000.
Well, I thought it was a really good guess,
4.
and then I didn't want to tip Justine off to
300
what the guess
sounds
was.
Too bad I
Small.
can read your face.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Which famous agricultural icon led the parade through downtown Denver on Thursday? Justine, you want to take this one first?
I don't know. I forgot the parade was.
I have a guess.
Bring it on.
Temple Grandin.
Temple Grandin is correct. Bree, 2 points, taking the lead. For a bonus point, what is her claim to fame?
She invented a horse hugging machine.
That's correct again. Bree, 3 points. Grandin invented
It's a sensory thing, right?
It's a center track restrainer system that half the cattle slaughtered in the United States and Canada pass through. Her goal was to create a humane system, which she believed was critical for efficiency because frightened animals do not go calmly to their fate. Yeah, and it squishes them.
Wow.
Do you know why I know that? It's a 30 Rock joke.
Oh.
Tracy Jordan says, I once got trapped in Temple Grandin's hugging machine.
Oh my God, now I get that joke. I'm a 30 Rock, but fanatic. But some jokes I'm like.
There are so many jokes
Yeah.
that sometimes you're like, wait, what?
They average a joke every 10 seconds on that show.
I love it. So that's why I know.
Pretty good. All right, number 3. This one, Justine, you mentioned the economic impact. That's the question here. According to the Colorado Department of Agriculture, what is the ag industry's annual economic impact on our state? We're going to do Price is Right rules again. Closest without going over. Justine, how about you go first?
Oh, the pressure.
This is a tough one.
10 million?
Okay,
that sounds
10
like a
million.
lot.
10 million.
I'm going with 3 billion.
3 billion. 3 billion's a little bit closer, but both are very low. The impact is $47 billion
Holy
annually.
cow.
Wow.
Yeah, so unfortunately, no one gets the point except for the state of Colorado. How about that?
Oh.
Huge impact.
Now I understand the struggle to keep it
For
coming to Colorado.
real. They should have pushed that number a little bit better when they were trying to get that arena built that
Seriously.
none of us wanted.
Might have rethought that.
I mean,
I
maybe.
did not realize that. Well, wow. We should be treating the stock show. I mean, we do treat it as royalty. You
We
get
treat
to
them better, yeah.
run animals through downtown.
Now I understand why so many politicians will be walking around.
Yes.
That's
the secret.
All right, next question. There is a popular event that involves sitting young kids on the back of angry sheep
yeah.
and seeing
We
which
both
one
know
can
this.
hold on for dear life longest.
Do you want to say it at the
Justine?
same time?
Okay, ready? Mutton busting.
All right. I'm going to give you each a point for that one.
Because my best friend in high school's nephew Stetson used to do mutton busting.
I always
That's where
wanted
learned about
to. That was my dream. I'd be at the stock show as a kid, one day. Maybe they'll let me now. I'm pretty small still. I could just probably
You against a 7-year-old?
Yeah.
Be like, and Justine Sandoval enters the arena.
The biggest kid of all.
Not as much riding a sheep as giving a sheep a hug.
Just carrying it out.
All right, next question. This one's a historical question. Rodeo competitions are now a staple of the stock show, with professionals competing for big prize money and to not die. But it wasn't always a rodeo show. What year was rodeo introduced to the National Western Stock Show?
I don't know, but I'm very curious.
I was like, you have to know. You have to have a closer guess because you know when it started, and I don't.
Well, I just know I've always went to the rodeo, the Mexican rodeo specifically. But I don't really remember. It's just something as a kid that was always there. So I don't know specifically when it started.
Let's take a couple of guesses and we'll do proximity, whoever's closest.
1943.
And Justine?
1950.
Bree, you're going to get the point here. The answer is 1931, according to 9 News.
Wow.
The 25th annual show was that year. Prize money was a total of $7,300.
Oh, wow.
So
good.
when did the stock show start?
Oh, we're going to get there.
Oh, we are. Okay. Then Justine's
I'm like, I know this one.
She actually knows this one.
All right, next question. One of the great things about the stock show is that everyone gets to put on their best Western wear, even if they couldn't lasso a steer to save their life. And some people take it one step further, moving here and going full Yellowstone 24/7. Which famous Colorado transplant and billionaire restaurateur has most famously adopted the cowboy hat into his own personal style?
Kimball Musk?
I don't know.
I don't know who
trying to
billionaire restaurant.
Is that your final answer, Bree?
Oh,
Yeah, I have no
billion.
idea.
And wait.
Billionaire restaurateur and Colorado transplant.
I was gonna,
I'm just going to give it to you, Bree. That was correct. It's Kimball Musk.
oh,
Elon's brother. Yeah.
I don't know he owns a restaurant. I know he owns the kitchen.
oh.
But
Oh
I didn't
my
realize
goodness.
it was, I would say I did not know that was $1 billion enterprise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not where he made his billions.
Oh,
he owns,
that makes
I
sense.
he
was
owns
starting to
stock
think
in
of a
his
$1 billion
brother's companies.
restaurant.
Yeah, I was like,
like,
do we have like a fast food empire that's from here? Not really.
No.
Not that that's that big.
All right. Our last question. And because, Bree, you have 6 points and Justine, you have
Sorry,
one.
Justine, I don't know how I knew any of this. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know we were doing this until this morning.
This one's going to be worth, I don't know. This is worth 6 points. So anyone can win here. It all comes down to here. In the wake of the 1893 silver crash, Denver boosters wanted to strengthen the area's already growing agricultural industry by attracting the National Stock Growers Convention. That event was a huge hit and spawned the annual tradition that we now know as the National Western Stock Show. What was the main attraction at the first National Stock Growers Convention in 1898?
The main attraction.
No, I'm just going to.
This
fail
is like an
miserably on this
impossible question. This is such an obscure piece of trivia.
The main attraction. Trying to think of the year.
Is it like a giant beefsteak dinner?
Yeah.
That is correct. It was a barbecue. It was a
I
massive
thought it was a barbecue.
Wow.
Only because I interviewed Adrian Miller, who wrote the history of barbecue. That's
my
why I
goodness.
was like, I think this is that same event.
For someone who-
Otherwise, I know. I
For
swear.
someone who hasn't been to the stock show since the 80s.
Justine, I swear I did not know we were doing this.
No.
I was terrified because I didn't prep.
I just go because it's in the neighborhood and I like the gigantic corn dogs and llamas.
Hey, I mean, that's what it's all about.
I
It's
feel
not
like
this-
you're the
this other
legitimate
stuff.
stock
Yeah.
show fan. I am just the imposter journalist that knows too much. I don't know.
And maybe works with the Quizmaster every day.
Paul, I'm trying to tell Justine I did not know we were doing this. We didn't set up our guest. I would never do that to you.
No. Well, that's it for trivia. Congratulations, Bree. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with our favorite way to end the week on CityCast Denver. All right, it's the end of the Friday show. That means it's time for the official CityCast Denver maybe for your weekend, as in maybe you'll see us there, because as usual, there's so many cool things happening in Denver this weekend, and we have opinions. Peyton Garcia rounds up her best bets in our newsletter, Hey Denver, every week, and she's here to give us her top picks. Peyton, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Justine. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
Before we get into our picks, we have a little bit of business to do because, Peyton, this is going to be your last maybe for a while. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say why? It's good
Yeah,
news.
I drove all the way down here, guys. 40 minutes at 39 weeks pregnant to do this final CityCast maybe. in person with you. I will be leaving for 3 months to welcome a tiny little person into the world.
Yay.
I'm so proud of you, but I was up all night. I'm so anxious about you being gone.
Well, I'm leaving you in really, really, really good hands.
That's true. That's true. And joining us here to help us with this this last maybe before Peyton's leave is our temporary fill-in newsletter editor, Adrian Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, Adrian.
Hey, thanks, Paul.
So, Adrian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Mexican-born, been here for a long time, grew up in Longmont. I don't know why I'm giving you like the 10-second elevator pitch, like I just ran into a businessman. Please hire me.
Here's my LinkedIn. I'm just going to summarize it real quick.
Let me hit you with a couple of lightning round questions so listeners can get to know you a little bit.
All right.
Chipotle or Legal Pete's?
Chipotle.
Snarfs or Chiba Hut?
Snarfs.
What Denver park do you spend the most time in?
City Park.
Okay. I think that's good for now. We'll obviously get to know you more
I was
over
like,
the
I
course of the
feel
next
like we
few
really
months.
touched the surface of our food situation here. And Adrian, we are doing you no justice by asking
Yeah,
you
with
those
Chipotle. That's a
Hey,
basic
those
strong
are
start.
important questions. Well, maybe they're just important to me. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to the weekend because that's what people are curious about, what to do this weekend. So I understand that, Peyton, you've picked a couple things, and Adrian, you've picked a couple things to tell us about. Who wants to start?
I'll go ahead and kick us off because my events that I'm recommending are happening tonight, Friday night. So the very first one that I want to recommend is something called an Inspira hike. Inspira hike. Have you guys heard of that?
Inspira hike. No.
like an
What's up?
inspirational hike.
Yeah. So it's the company that puts it on is actually called Inspira Hike, and they do it over at the Regional Bluffs in Lone Tree. But it's kind of cool, and I just thought it sounds like something really fun for the start of the new year if you're looking for a way to kind of like manifest some mindfulness. What they do is you get these nice headphones, and they like curate this like really nice inspirational playlist, and so you're with a group, right? And you guys are all listening to the playlist, so you're not talking, but you're all hiking together, and you have this like really calming meditative
kind of
playlist, and it's a guided hike, so you have a guide who's taking you through, and it's just supposed to be like, they aim for it to be like a really transformative experience. And I've recommended this in the newsletter before. It just sounds like really cool to me. So like I think the weather's supposed to be pretty decent. I mean, maybe a little chilly, but get out there if you're looking for a way to get your steps in and
Maybe
meditate a little.
If you've never hiked before, I feel like that'd be a good
Yeah.
starting point because it can be a little intimidating if you don't know what to do or where to go.
Yeah.
That's a great
And my
start.
thoughts are like, I mean, I think you're at the Regional Bluffs, so it's like, it's not like it's a super hard hike. They're not taking you in like deep into the Rockies. And then you'll meet some other people who kind of have that same like mentality. You're all going there to get something kind of introspective out of it. So that's kind of my New Year
I like that. That
event
feels
rec.
good for the time. Yeah, Justine, does that sound like your cup of tea?
Oh, let's see. No, I hike a lot. I hike probably once or twice a week, but I really don't ever add the music element or the sound element because I'm trying to
Paying
be
attention
aware.
to what's going on.
Like,
Yeah.
something's gonna jump out at me, or just being aware of the sounds. So I don't like to always incorporate like music into my hikes, but I could see how that could be like calming and how it could be something that you'd want to do as like a group. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I should mention it's $25, and it starts at 4 and lasts about 75 minutes.
At 4?
Yeah,
It's kind of late.
And
It's gonna be
in
dark.
the evening.
in the evening they call it too. It actually looks like this is their New Year. So this Fridays is
Maybe wear a
the
headlamp?
New Year full moon Inspira hike, which to me sounds very pleasant.
Oh, it is beautiful.
Take
to
your
see.
And night
Yeah.
hiking is
that's what I was
really
thinking.
cool. If y'all haven't done night hiking, it's fun.
Yeah, I went to Ballarat. Okay, you
did.
do the night hike.
I didn't get to do Ballarat. I wasn't in public school yet, so
Okay, but
Yeah.
I'll pass it off to Adrian now. I'll let you do one.
Well, this weekend, if you don't find me at the stock show, which is probably where I'll be most of the time, wearing my 3 dozens of hats that I keep accruing.
I was thinking of you when we were talking about hats. I was like, we have someone in this room who has many beautiful hats.
The hat collection is growing. Don't ask my partner about it. It'll start a fight. Similar to the hike, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the sensory friendly mornings at the Denver Art Museum.
No.
They're fantastic. It's just what it sounds like. They set up these mornings that are quiet. They dim the lights. And I think it was originally set up for folks that have kids with sensory issues, neurodivergent. But you can go whether you have a child, if you're just. I used to live right by the dam, and I love those mornings.
That sounds like the ideal way to experience the art museum.
Yeah, it's
less
kind of
light, less noise,
less people.
Yeah, I would love that.
Less crowds.
It's quiet, which is actually one of the things that I've enjoyed post 2020. Is the timed entry. It's nice to be in there without all the crowds, but this is like the next level. It's quiet. It's nice. I used to go and sit and just do some writing and drawing.
All right. What else we got?
My next one is also, well, this actually happens all weekend, and I've recommended this program before through Colorado Symphony. It's movie at the Symphony, and the reason I'm bringing it up this weekend is because it's Harry Potter.
I was like, it's gonna be Harry Potter.
Because if you know anything about me, I'm a Harry Potter freak.
Uh-huh.
And so this weekend they're doing Harry Potter. They have a showing on Friday night and Saturday night at 7:30, and then they have like an afternoon one on Sunday as well. Kids tickets are $10. Adult tickets vary from like $70 to $120 depending on like your seating. And if you don't know what movie at the Symphony is, it's when the Colorado Symphony Orchestra plays the original film score alongside the movie as it's projected on screen. So it'll really bring the magic of Hogwarts to life, or at least that's what I hope.
There's a lot of Harry Potter movies, right?
This is the question.
It is the first Harry Potter.
Okay. Is that divisive for you, Paul? I don't know.
If I'm going to rewatch one, it's probably going to be Half-Blood Prince.
Yes.
I don't like the ones where they're really young.
But they have, agreed, but they have the best score. That's like, I would
That's
get,
true.
because that's like the original Harry Potter, so they have all of the like, you know?
Go on.
Yeah, you know, you get it.
This is all news to me, so I'm taking it in.
Okay. All right. What's our fourth one, Adrian?
All right. So if you are not one of those people that are doing dry January, Sunday, Dos Luces.
The opposite of dry January.
Sunday, Dos Luces is having a fun chef dinner in their brewery. So if you don't know about Dos Luces, beautiful, beautiful tap room just off of South Broadway. So I'll read a little bit of the description here. It says, explore the history and cultural influences of Colorado cuisine through an intimate tasting menu curated by Chef Jared, paired with brews from Dos Luces. So beer and food, tickets are $85 a piece. I don't think they've released their menu yet, but it's hard to miss.
Where's Dos Luces?
Just off of Broadway and a little bit south of I-25. I'm not sure what the cross street is. It's close to Adelitas.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, I can't picture it. Okay.
That's I like to like stop there before going to Adelitas. It's a very nice way to pair them together. And they do, I can't remember if I'm, Adrian, you might have to help me, but the beer that they like specialize in, it's like that. Is it chicha? Am I remembering?
I just looked this
Chicha.
up.
Yeah.
Chicha and pulque.
Yes.
I went to I was in Mexico City, escaped the
Yes.
cold for the holidays, and went to a pulqueria down there. Had a great time. I've been meaning to go to Dos Luces to try theirs.
What's
so
the chicha?
I'm very intrigued by this.
Is that like a flavor?
I don't really.
I don't-
No, they're like special, like corn-based.
Corn-based, right?
Corn-based
I don't know
cool.
chicha. I know pulque is like it's like an alcoholic drink, lower alcohol content typically than beer, and it's made from the maguey plant. And you tend to sweeten it and add a flavor to it. And the special part is that it's a little bit more viscous than we're used to here.
Yeah, it's a little milky.
Yeah.
It's an interesting taste to get used to. If you're used to beer, it's nothing like beer. If you're used to
Yeah.
tequila mezcal, is not really. So somewhere in between, it's a little milky. The chicha, it's the thing is that they're all gluten-free because they're made from corn, not the wheat. So that's the chicha style. So if you have a gluten allergy and want to try some beers, I will say the flavors are like out of town. They're really interesting. They have a couple of different things that if you're just a regular beer drinker, you might like, but be prepared to elevate your taste buds.
Okay.
And
Try
it
something
looks
new.
like they
Super
have
fun.
non-alcoholic.
I was just going to ask
alternatives
if they
to
had
beer.
because I would like to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
So-
have some regularly at the tap room if you just
Cool.
want to stop and get non-alcoholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Inspira Hike, we got Sensory Friendly Morning at the Dam, we got Harry Potter and the Symphony, and we got a paired dinner at Dos Luces Brewery. Justine,
They're all really different.
what are you leaning towards? Yeah, this is a really different mix.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Colorado Symphony. So I really like that. And they did Star Wars. You're Harry Potter. I'm Star Wars. The original Holy Trilogy, though, for me, was Star Wars. Yeah, so I think that sounds great. And I know tickets are kind of pricey, which is why I haven't been going as often. But the $10 kids tickets,
It's a pretty sweet deal.
That's good. So you're not paying $70 each kid too. Like,
Yeah.
that's a good deal.
Yeah. There's
like
like
that.
crafts or something too before, like Harry
Oh,
Potter themed
fun.
crafts that you can take your kid to before.
That is interesting. It's. I think I could go for that one. I could be convinced to do that one. I think sensory friendly morning at the Dam is most appealing to me. Bree, how about you?
I'm kind of torn because I'd like to take my kid to both of those. Like, I don't know if he's quite ready to sit through a movie. He's in a screaming his head off phase, so that also might not be great for the sensory morning.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you guys
I have to say, Adrian has really tempted me with this Dos Luces
I know.
thing.
I was like, it
I could
kind of
be there as
sounds
well.
fancy.
I mean, maybe that's just
Fun.
someone who like hasn't been able to have a full meal or alcohol for 9 months, but it just sounds awesome.
All right. I think that might be it. Do we have consensus? Is it Dos Luces, the paired dinner?
I think so. I think it's something new.
Food and beer, always.
Heck yeah. All right, there you go. The official CityCast Denver maybe for your weekend. But there's way more where that came from. Peyton and Adrian have got plenty more recommendations in our newsletter, Hey Denver, which you can subscribe to right now by texting the word Denver to 66866. Peyton, Adrian, Bree,
Did you just point at your
Justine.
I was no.
All right. I think we're done here. See you all next week.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
bye.
Bye.
And that's all for the week here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Paul Karolyi, and Aaron O'Toole. Peyton Garcia and Adrian Gonzalez write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Twitter at CityCast Denver, and tell Temple Grandin about us the next time you see her. You can sign up for Hey Denver by texting Denver to 66866 and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.
My fun stock show story is when we were in college and the stock show would come into town and we'd like broke and want to go out drinking. You go to the bars or Teddy's, the old nightclub.
Oh.
yeah. And
DJ Hijinks, I used to go dance at Teddy's all the time.
And the like stock show, those guys have money. Some of these ranchers are like ballin'. So we would just like go sit at the bar and they'd buy us drinks all night. So that way
Toss your shoulder back.
Yeah, I just
Hell
sit
yeah.
there and then all the cows like, hey there.
Yeah.
I'd be like, can I buy you a drink? I'm like,
like
yes.
your style.
That's I'm here.
I like your style.